putting that poor abused child into his home, into his claws, so that she could be freaking traumatized even more. If you like this reaction, give me a like. If you would like to see more content, subscribe, click the little bell. Hello everyone, this is Venus Brown. I will be doing a review and discussion of Season 5, Episode 2 of Handmaid's Tale. This episode was painful, devastating, and awesome. The episode was titled Ballet, and I think that is on two fronts. The ballet that they were getting ready to go to and went to towards the end of the episode, but also the ballet, I will say, that Serena and Gilead were conducting when it came to this funeral and the media involved and all of that. It was like a ballet. We see June at the beginning burying the gun that she was given, and then, I'm assuming, putting her sprouted plants over the top of it. I was wondering, though, do you think that maybe she was burying the gun so that she could get to it later, like keep it in a safe place where nobody would think to find it and then be able to dig it up later? If that's the case, it was kind of stupid not to put it in something more clean, sealed environment, but June doesn't always think these things through. And again, in this episode, I keep wanting them to give us a little bit more information about what really went on between Tuello and Serena. And of course, they, again, haven't given us anything substantial to work with. So after Serena gets to Gilead for the funeral, she has a interaction with Nick about the suffering that June has caused, and Nick comes back with this comment that, oh, they've both been blessed. At first I thought, is his wife pregnant now? And then I remembered, oh yeah, they were both blessed because June was able to get pregnant with Nick's kid and with Serena's not kid. Now I have to talk about Aunt Lydia. The decisions she made in this episode, I was extremely concerned and angry almost the entire episode at all of the decisions that Aunt Lydia has made. Putting Janine back in that situation again where she's interacting with the Putnams, knowing the past that she's had with them, knowing how things often go when she is around them because her daughter is in their care, and then putting that poor abused child into his home, into his claws, so that she could be freaking traumatized even more. She has already been abused and raped over and over and again, and even if Aunt Lydia doesn't have all the information, she was at least given enough to know that that child has been raped and abused. And she knew that that man had already been completely inappropriate with his relationship with Janine, so she should have had every reason to believe that he would engage in the same kind of disgusting behavior with this child, and she put her in the lion's den anyway. I cannot comprehend what the hell possessed her to even entertain that, because you've seen in the background, you've seen in other scenes where she is actually making the decisions about who goes where. So it's her that's controlling where these girls are going. And she intentionally places her in this man's home, in this man's clutches. And of course, that goes devastatingly wrong, as I suspected it was. I was so worried. And then at the end of the episode, when they're in the girls' sleeping quarters, and I recognized that scene from the trailer, that revelation was just, I know something really devastating is going to happen. I know that in the trailer it looked like that at least the one girl was dying. I was holding out hope that maybe it wouldn't be as bad as what it looked, but I would say it was worse than it looked. And she not only killed herself, but it looks like she's killed Janine too. We know sometimes in Handmaids, These people in Gilead will somehow save these handmaids in situations where they really probably shouldn't have been able to be saved. But we know that they do have resources, even though they act like they're cut off from most resources. They do have resources to take care of things like that. So maybe if they get to them fast enough, they might be able to save them. But it really looked like there was blood coming out of their mouth. That didn't look like just chocolate. It looked like chocolate mixed with blood coming out of their mouth. And we know that Esther has a background understanding how poisons work. It's just very sad, very horrible thing. And it really could have been avoided. It really could have been avoided, at least to an extent. I don't know that Esther would ever be able to be a handmaid, not to conduct the duties that handmaids are supposed to conduct. Aunt Lydia could at least done a better job at trying to place her in a position that would have been more safe, because that girl needed safety. She didn't need to be put in a more traumatizing position. And again, we get to see the commanders and wives playing their roles, doing their little thing. We also get to see them throwing shade at Fred. I do think once Tuello was put in that position where they made him stay in the entryway, that probably would have been a good opportunity just to gather little bits of information from every single person that was walking in, to just get as much as you can. And I know there's not going to be a lot that he can get, but it at least puts him in a place where he can actually start having some interactions, where he can gather intel, which we've seen other people do in Gilead when they have these ceremonies and stuff going on, just like worming their way into getting little bits and pieces of information that they wouldn't have otherwise known. We see Moira and June and Rita preparing for going to this ballet, and June, of course, doing what June does when she's in one of those moods where she wants to play with people, she wants to play with people's feelings, and June loves to push people to fury and anger and get them going and get them upset. And she was really pushing that with Rita. And finally, Rita told her where to stick it. And both Rita and Moira were both telling her to shut the fuck up. And she refused. She just keeps on doing it because that's how June is. And June continues to prod her about getting hit by Serena when Serena actually wanted to hit June. And Rita said what needed to be said, that I have to fight with this stuff too every fucking day. They were all prisoners in that system. All of those girls were prisoners. And so being a Martha, you still have to deal with the trauma of being held prisoner against your will, being forced to basically be their maid the entire time you're there, being a prisoner the whole time. So I think at least for a little while that kind of woke June up a little bit so she could stop being such a fucking asshole. When Aunt Lydia brings the handmaids to the Putnam's house for this ceremony, and she brings Mrs. Putnam to come and, I guess, evaluate Esther and decide if she's willing to allow Esther to be the handmaid. I was really kind of surprised that she didn't put up more of a fight, knowing the kind of man her husband is, knowing the history that he has, and knowing that this is a very young, pretty girl. I was very surprised that she did not disagree with that whole thing. It makes you wonder what these people are thinking when they make the decisions they do. And of course, after that incident with June hounding Rita, trying to get her all upset, trying to get a reaction out of her, and Moira says, "What is wrong with you, June?" I think that's the question from everybody. What is wrong with you, June? But I think we all know the answer. June is June. And of course, Luke is trying to straddle the situation again, where he's trying to deal with June in her current state, figure out how to be supportive of her and help her get through things without giving up, trying to reach June so that they will be all right, trying to make her understand that the things that she's doing are actually putting their family in danger, trying to get her to understand that she's got to be there with them, that she's got to work with them, that she's got to make things work. And again, June is, I think, feeling like she understands that the things she's doing are wrong and are unhealthy and are really, really terrible for her family. And she just keeps saying, I'm sorry. There's so many points in Handmaids where June is telling people she's sorry and telling Luke that she's sorry. Back when she got to Canada, and she kept telling Luke that she was so sorry, that it was only her, that she didn't bring Hannah with her. And repeatedly trying to get through the trauma of escaping Gilead, being in Canada free from Gilead, but not emotionally and mentally being free from Gilead, and continuously telling Luke that she's sorry. I'm sorry. Because she knows she is not stable and she feels that she should not be there with them, that she is making Luke's life miserable. And what was it in the previous episode, she told Luke, I'm sorry, you were doing good. Nicole and Moira and you were together and you were doing well, and I come into the picture and I just blow everything up. I destroy your life. And Luke is like, you are my life. And I got to give him credit for that. At least he is trying to understand and be understanding, and he's trying to be supportive. He just doesn't always come across as really having the guts to do what needs to be done to deal with everything, but he is trying to make things work with her. And then when we get to see this choreographed plan that Serena puts together and puts in motion, I do feel like that's kind of part of the ballet that this episode was named after. Her just wrapping people around her fingers, being her conniving, manipulative self, and getting the things she wants, and conducting this whole thing so that she ends up in the position that she is at the end of the episode. And she played them all so well. She played off of each of them and got everything that she wanted. And she comes into the room and presents her own ideas of how they should conduct the funeral. And she starts making it about presenting Gilead to the world, showing this image of Gilead to the rest of the world to make Gilead look better. And that even gives Lawrence this opportunity, because Lawrence has been trying to convince these commanders for a while to do things that will benefit their country, that will make Gilead look good to the rest of the world. And I think he sees this as his opportunity. Serena played him so well when it comes to that. And then later on, after the ceremony, we get to see Nick again meeting somebody in the dead of night in the middle of nowhere. Nick seems to be really good at doing this, meeting people in the middle of nowhere and conducting business. And Tuello, of course, provides him the opportunity that, you seem to be rising very fast. You have been doing something that takes a lot of talent that most people wouldn't be able to do. And maybe there is a way that if you keep conducting yourself in this manner and you keep being able to provide us information, maybe we'll be able to get you some forgiveness from America and be able to possibly see your daughter in person, in real life, not just for a little meetup with June, but to actually be there for a while. I was like, please, please, please accept this. Please, please accept the proposal. And it sounds like he did. So that's freaking awesome. That's awesome. If it goes well. And after he said it, I was like, whatever you do, like, don't get caught. Because Nick does sometimes put himself into positions where he could definitely easily get caught and get himself and everybody else into a lot of trouble. Crossing our fingers and hoping things go the way we want them to. But I am cautiously optimistic and very excited at Nick's prospects. Let's all keep our fingers crossed. Now, like I said, when I saw Esther and Janine in that room, just had this horrible sinking feeling that that was the exact scene that I had seen in the trailer where it looked like somebody was dying, and that's what it was. It felt terrible. And when Esther starts telling Janine that she didn't like her at first, and I was like, yeah, that was very, very blatantly obvious. But then she goes and says, I was right the first time. I was like, no. But honestly, I get it. She feels so freaking used, and she feels so let down by these people that are supposed to be helping her and keeping her safe, secure, being supportive. And I think after that situation at the Putnams, she knows that she's anything but safe. And she tells Janine, you used me. You used me like Aunt Lydia did, like all of them do. And that's the thing, is that she feels used, she feels alone and isolated, and the one person that was supposed to be helping her and being supportive of her, she probably feels like she's helped to put her in this situation, and she can't get out of it. I knew when Aunt Lydia left her in the room with Mr. Putnam, I knew that that would probably cause this situation where that girl is being re-traumatized, and I felt she would probably end up killing herself. I just didn't at first think it was going to be this quick, but I honestly don't blame her. I don't blame her. It's such a sad situation. Now, when they showed Serena later on with Fred's casket, and we could see this full colorful image of his casket. It had the sword and the wings and this eye. It's very interesting symbolism, and I know that we've seen some of that. Have we seen that entire symbol before? I know we've seen the wings and stuff. I just wonder what all of it means, and if we've seen that full symbolism somewhere else before. Like I said, I know we've seen the wings, but what about the rest of it? And we get that final scene from the show where June and Luke get out of the ballet and they kiss each other, and Luke and June open their eyes to see all these screens around the square with the funeral procession all over them. And then Luke turns around and sees this huge screen which has Hannah all over it. They both see the funeral and Serena, and then in the procession is Hannah. And June sees the procession and she's like, what the fuck? And then Luke turns around and he sees Hannah. And you could see on his face like that, like, freaking Serena really got them that time. She really got them. Checkmate. Serena plays the game too well. I was thinking in the last episode that this isn't Game of Thrones, but maybe it really is. Maybe it is like Game of Thrones. Serena is too fucking good, and she's playing the game, and she's made her play. And she said she was going to hurt June. We can definitely see that she is. And I definitely think that this is going to spur Luke on to maybe motivate him more as well. I mean, if he wants to be where he can actually understand some of the things that June is feeling, I think this might actually help him to get there. But overall, this episode had all the high tension and drama, the devastation, and the awesomeness that we really love to see from Handmaid's Tale. And I can't wait to see more. Get to see how June and Luke deal with what they just witnessed. And we'll get to see what happens. Serena is back in the country because from the trailer, we know that they meet each other. We know that they end up seeing each other. And I don't imagine that any of that will go well. But we'll see you on the next episode. I'm looking forward to it. Bye.